When life throws you a curveball, how are you going to handle adversity? Welcome to the Fearless Mindset Podcast, where you're about to go on a journey as I interview security, business, and entertainment leaders on what it takes to stay fearless. I'm your host, Mark Ledlow, and enjoy today's episode.
Well, good evening. We're here in Orlando, Florida at the Global Security Exchange Conference, and Mark Ledlow is hosting us here with the Fearless Mindset Podcast, and we're having some discussions here with some of the industry experts. I'm here with Tim Wenzel, and we're just going to talk a little bit about the conference, his background, how this came to be, and it's certainly been an exciting start to the event. We got a few days to go here, but how did you get into the space? Where did this all start for you?
You know, I think like a lot of people, I got into security by accident because nobody really says, you know what, I'm going to be in security. I started up wanting to be in the military, and I did that, did the invasion of Iraq. And I was also in the National Guard. So I was an EMT on the private side. And when I came back from Iraq, the ambulance was just a little bit boring. Right. And so I started pursuing how to get into executive protection and how to get back overseas and kind of build this new career for myself. And
when did it start? When did you start doing your own thing?
2005, I got out, and then I went to ESI in 2007. And then by 2008, I was back overseas in Iraq doing contracting.
Okay.
Yeah.
And since that, what would you say are some of the early things you encounter when you're starting a business, going on your own and getting in the space? What are a couple of landmines to be avoided and a couple experiences early on that were encouraging and kind of made you think you were on the right track with this?
You know, I think looking back after building a career, there's people want to be liked, and they think that's the way to success. But if you go through job after job, detail after detail, really just focusing on being liked, the sad truth is you're never going to make everybody happy. Nobody, or not everybody, is ever going to like you. And so when I mentor people now, I really do talk about who do you want to become, and start setting some North Stars for the person that you want to become. And maybe even more importantly, the person that you don't want to become. And so instead of planning your career job after job after job, plan your human progression so that you become the person that you want to become, which actually, when you start to get into difficult situations, you have to choose between your integrity or maybe keeping your job or being popular. You always have that North Star to say, I won't always have this job, but I will always be me.
Absolutely. And what would you say is a highlight or an experience or a project that kind of stands out to you as something that's rewarding in this space or something that you think merits a little more exploration?
There's a satisfaction. Starting off early, I was, trying to get jobs protecting people. And then I got into corporate security and started, working for, Fortune 100 companies and doing this space. And when you can actually see that you're making a difference in the world, more than just you and I, more than just myself, but, people watch your work on the news sometimes. Your family watches world events unfold and you're playing a part of it. That's something that the security industry is a unique industry that they can provide that for you.
What do you think are a couple of things that are happening in the industry now that are noteworthy? Are there things changing? Are there any opportunities emerging? Are there problems generally? And what are some factors that you think shape the overall atmosphere of this community at this time?
I think we need to embrace change is always happening. So our world is evolving faster than it ever has. Threat actors have more access to technology, more access to information. They learn quicker. And really, they can get ahead of the game a lot faster than we can keep up. So one of the big things that I harp on is, one, challenge your assumptions. We all have foundational assumptions that we've built our security plans on, our teams on. I mean, COVID showed us that there were a lot of things that were instantly no longer true. And so for leaders, I say challenge the assumptions that you've built all of your operations on. And then we have a leadership deficit in the security industry. We have a lot of people that come from government and law enforcement. They have great backgrounds, but the type of leadership you learn there doesn't natively transfer to the private sector. And in a lot of different ways, we unwittingly bring toxicity into the workplace. So when somebody hires you to protect their family, or a company brings you on to help stabilize during a crisis, they're looking for calm. And a lot of times we bring even more disruption.
Right. So what would you say is, as you reach a goal or reach a milestone in this space, how do you set the next goal, or how do you look at what the next goal is, whether it's scaling, whether it's bringing in other people, mentoring people, training others, growing? How do you kind of measure goal setting as you hit milestones?
Well, knowing where you need to go, I guess, is the first step. But what is important for the space that you're in, right? So I think that everybody in this security industry, you should always be learning, right? You should always be growing yourself, which means there's something you're aspiring to. So you should be being mentored, and there's people coming behind you. So you should be mentoring others. And when we're always learning and we're always giving, then that creates a space where the entire industry can evolve quicker and quicker and become more holistic and more brought together, versus there's a lot of people that view their career as a zero-sum game. If I get ahead, it has to be at the expense of someone else, because if they get to where I want to go, then that opportunity won't be available to me. But that's not really how this world works. The truly successful people are quite collaborative. They elevate those around them. They bring people with them. And that's where I would love to see the industry go to.
Very well said. I think President Kennedy would agree with you there. That's the rising tide lifts all ships.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thoughts on this conference, GSX? What are, as someone comes into a conference like this, what should they be looking for? What are some of the just intriguing, interesting aspects of it? What do you think that, what would you like to see transpire this week? Any hopes and anything you're interested in checking out, or any particular goals for the week?
For me, it's about the people. It's about networking. I don't need to be exposed to the technology and the floor. But you know what? I can't always have access to these people. So I look to build closer relationships to bring people together. If it's a first time that you're here, or you feel under-networked, you don't have a big network, or some people, they've been in the industry a long time, they just don't know how to do conferences, find someone that does them well. Reach out to people on LinkedIn before you go and have somebody guide you through. There's so many people who are looking to bring you along, because we're all doing this show together. And if you're that person who does this show well, and you see the people that are kind of quiet, pushed to the periphery, grab them along. Find out what they want to see. Who do you want to meet? A lot of people stop me at the show and they want to talk to me. And, I always ask them, is there anybody I can introduce you to? Because I know a lot of people in this industry, and that's probably the best currency I have, is trading on my relationships and making sure that those who don't have those relationships at least have a chance to foster them.
Yeah, absolutely. That's well stated. And I think Renee was talking about resilience earlier, which is interesting too. Thoughts on that? Thoughts on making mistakes, overcoming, and kind of any kind of in some respects you are disrupting, because you're coming into a new space.
Yep.
There's always these sort of big established players that don't necessarily always can always capture all of the areas of the market, especially as it evolves. I heard today anecdotes about scaling up quickly, or the staffing a job within a certain time frame, and sometimes these big behemoth players can't do that, and that creates opportunities. Talk to me a little bit about disruption, resilience, and some of the inner workings of working in this business and applying the knowledge to the job.
Well, resilience, it's a big deal, right? So we can't be strong enough forever, right? So people that get into security, we have a little bit of a hero complex, right? We want to be the person that's able to save the day, to solve the problem. And we can do that for a while. Then we burn out, right? And again, if we're trying to run this career by ourselves and we're not being collaborative, then we're burnt out and we're left alone. So the best form of resilience is bringing people along, fostering that network, having people who are well-equipped and willing around you. And then when you run into that situation to where you have a staffing problem, to where you have a problem that's presented to you to solve that you don't know how to solve, that you've never anticipated before, you have an entire network of people that you can bring in to help you. And I learned a long time ago that I'm the most powerful person in the room when I'm not the guy that knows the answers to the question. When I'm actually the person surrounding myself with very, very smart people, having them help me solve the problem and asking questions to really find out, okay, how well might this work? How well might that work? What are the problems I see with this? And as we have those conversations together, we distill the more perfect plan and we achieve it together. And it's not about me. It's not about any one of them. It's about us. And guess what? That team wants to work together again 100 times over in the future because we all have fun and we all achieve great results.
Sounds good. A couple final thoughts here, questions is, talk to me about clients, and many of us have had a variety of experiences. We've had jobs, we've been in the private sector. Is there anything unique about getting into kind of a client atmosphere or interacting with, in that regard? Any kind of thoughts there?
So,
hints?
I mean, if you're the type of, so I'm a consultant right now. So I make my living on clients, right? So going back to kind of what I talked about earlier, trying to be liked by everyone, it's an impossibility, right? So make sure that you're always being yourself. And if you get a client that you just don't get along with, be honest with yourself and hand off to somebody that's a better fit for them, right? It's not about you landing the contract, you getting the sale. It's really about the success of your company and a proper, great outcome for that client. So don't force it if it's not you. Right. There's lots of people I get along with, and there are lots of people, and I can almost immediately tell the types of personalities that are not going to get along with me. And I am happy to pass that off to the next person so that they can have a successful outcome. And by the way, that client will appreciate that. They're not going to look at it as weakness. They're not going to look at it as you're inept and you don't know how to do your job. They're going to appreciate that you bent for them to give them the best outcome and the best service possible. So number one, don't get caught being fake. Number two, do what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. And when that plan gets messed up, when you're falling behind on your timelines, when you're having trouble figuring out the deliverable, be honest. Go get help. Bring people together. It's back to that collaboration. Don't go on your own and hope it's going to be okay, because over and over and over, it's not going to be okay. And you're going to lose your standing with these clientele. And this is a very, very small industry. If you burn one client and you get past it, a couple years later, they show up as a different client and you're burned before you walk through the door.
That's a great point. And I heard that in the government relations industry years and years ago in grad school at a lobby firm, very similar. Is your word is really kind of who you are. If you lie, if you do something unethical, your credibility is gone. So that's a great point. Goals, next 2 to 5 years, any particular thing on the horizon for you in terms of your business, personal growth, mentorship? What phase of what phase are you at right now?
Yeah, so I'm unfortunately in my 40s now, so I'm in pre-retirement mode. So what that means is I'm not trying to overly complicate my life. I'm looking at what do I have fun doing and how much money can I do it with the next 10 to 15 years so that I can settle in for retirement with my wife. But my goals for me personally is to change the paradigm on how the industry thinks about risk management. Every client I have, I go in and I talk to them. I talk with the C-suite, I talk with the security department, I talk with their business partners. And I try to understand, right? Everybody wants to throw security under the bus. Our security department, they're not, fitting the bill. They're not cutting it. There are a lot of external circumstances, cultural issues that impact how well security can be done. And it's my job to really understand the client environment holistically so that I can let them know what they're doing that's actually inhibiting the effect that they want on their security program. And a lot of times they're not aware of it. I want to redefine how leadership is thought of in the security industry. I want people to understand how to build teams correctly using IO psychology, using great team dynamics, and building cultures that allow for experimentation and really breed joyful environments, because when we have fun, we do better work.
That sounds good. Thanks for spending some time with us. Where can folks find you? Website? Any final thoughts you want to give on the Fearless Mindset podcast here at GSX Orlando?
Tim Wenzel, CPP on LinkedIn. You can look me up at Kroll and the Kindness Games.
Thanks for being with us.
Hi, everyone. I'm Renee Stringer. I want to share my journey today with you, not just as a woman in executive protection, but as a mom, as a wife, and as a business owner. And also someone who has definitely faced more than a few challenges along the way. So this past Saturday, as I was packing and I'm getting ready for the trip, my daughter comes in. My daughter's name is Kate. She comes in and asks, "Mom, what are you doing and where are you going?" I said, "I'm going to Orlando. I'm going to go do a speech." And she said, "A speech? Why?" I'm like, oh God, how do I explain to a sassy 12-year-old what I'm doing? So I said, "All right, you know how much you love Alex Morgan?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "If Alex Morgan was doing a speech, would you listen?" She said, "Yeah, I would listen." And I said, "Well, I said, I laughed. I said, "Well, that version of that, Alex, I'm kind of that version. Alex talks about soccer and I'm here to talk about my journeys and challenges that I've overcome." And then she asked, "What are you going to say?" I looked at Kate and I'm like, I don't know yet. This is Saturday, you guys. And I really didn't know, because I was sitting here thinking, what can I possibly say? And I told my daughter, Kate, and she said, "Mom," she's like, why don't you talk about you being a single mom, having no money, taking jobs for pennies, and everybody doubting you? You know what? And now look at you." And I'm looking at her going, How did you know that? You were so young. And she said, "Mom, I watched you. I knew you were trying to hide it, but I watched you. I watched you struggle. I watched you never giving up." And it's amazing what kids actually pick up. We think that we're protecting them, but they see everything. So a lot of this speech is from my daughter's inspiration. She gave me that inspiration. And she was right. There were plenty of sleepless nights when I wondered, what am I doing? I took jobs, paid me nothing. I'm going through a divorce. I moved in with my parents. I can barely take care of myself. How am I going to take care of my daughter? My credit was so bad that I couldn't even get a car without a cosigner. I remember asking my dad to come in and co-sign for me. And he walked through those doors and I was so excited because things were starting to look up, right? Oh, no. He straight up went to me in front of everybody and said, "No, I am not risking signing for you. You're on your own." And walked right out of those doors. And I was like, oh man. Okay, so needless to say, I'm still good friends with my dad. I ended up getting the car. I just had to pay a little bit more in interest. So during 2006 and 7, the economy crashed. I wanted to become a police officer, but getting into the field was nearly impossible, which was so shocking to me. So I put myself through a reserve police academy while juggling multiple jobs. I was a hairdresser working on Sunset Boulevard and also doing red carpet events. I was a cosmetology instructor. And now I was teaching defense tactics to law enforcement and military. In my spare time, I was also teaching Krav Maga to civilians. I was so determined to make something of myself, no matter what the obstacles were in front of me. As I was teaching gun disarms and defense tactics, I realized I didn't really fully understand why behind certain firearm techniques. Students would ask me things and I couldn't explain that. And during the academy, it was, all right, let's qualify, take your gun apart. All right, cool, this is great. All right. Well, at that point, that's when I became a firearms instructor. I needed to know that why behind every move I was teaching. I wanted to know all of the principles about it. And the thirst for knowledge has been a constant drive for me throughout my career. Eventually, I launched my company, Lioness Tactics. As soon as I did that, the critics and the haters came out. Oh, yeah. That's a strong name to live up to. And you know what? They were right. But I chose that name with intention. A lioness is strong, strategic, nurturing, bold, and protective. She can handle things on her own, but isn't afraid to ask for help or take help from others. She doesn't look for fights, but she will finish one if one comes. So that was the spirit and the value I wanted for my company, a commitment to fight back and protect what you love. Starting out my company wasn't easy, and neither was stepping into executive protection. I felt like I had to prove myself in every room I entered, whether it was because of my size, my gender, my experience, my background. I constantly rattled off my resume thinking people knew everything. I wanted people thinking they knew everything I had accomplished. They would respect me if they knew my background. If I came in there and I showed them and I told them my background, I should get that respect. That was a lie. So my background teaching military and law enforcement defense tactics gave me the confidence, but it made me feel I had to prove myself over and over again. But over time, I realized that respect isn't earned through words. It was earned through action. The loudest person in the room isn't always the most respected. I learned to be quiet, stay humble, and let my work speak for itself. So that was a huge learning lesson for me when I first started in executive protection. In this industry, respect isn't given, it is earned. And I earned it by staying bold, persistent, and always learning. Yes, it is a male-dominant field, but I have had the privilege of working with some incredible men, women who have respected me for my work, and I'm constantly challenged. Instead of shrinking back, I train harder. I learn more. I stay ready. Knowledge is my best weapon. It truly is. Now I'd like to say I did this all alone, but I didn't. Around the time I started my company, I met my husband. He was understandably skeptical of what I was doing. He's like, "You're doing what?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm doing it." But he stood by my side despite the challenges, and in 2019, we got married and had twin girls, and incredibly grateful for having a partner who supports me in my work, even when it means I'm gone for days, weeks, and even months at times. I mean, he's taking care of those kids. And he never complains, ever. Let me be honest with you. This job is not for everyone. It takes a sacrifice. We miss sleep, holidays, birthdays, anniversaries. As a mom, that's tough. But when my daughter told me she was proud of me last Saturday while I was packing, that to me meant the world to me. It was everything. It reminded me that I am doing something right, not just as a professional, but as a mom. Right? This work requires a thick skin and a strong mindset. Doubt will creep in, but you cannot let it stay. You have to kick it out. Doubt clouds your judgment, and in this line of work, we don't have room for it. Whether it's your job or in life, you will be challenged. How you handle these challenges defines who you are. You can either let doubt and fear take over, or you can pick yourself up, come back stronger, and keep fighting harder. At the end of the day, we get one life. Tomorrow isn't promised. So if you are passionate about something, go after it with everything that you've got. I've learned this from my mom when she was diagnosed with leukemia. She told me, I am proud of you never giving up, even when the odds were against you. You're living your life to the fullest. That's exactly how I've chosen to live. Because no one knows what tomorrow holds. So, before I wrap up, I want to take a moment to thank Mark for this opportunity. If you have not heard his story, I encourage you to talk to him. He's been through his own challenges, and his own journey is inspiring. And it inspired me to be coming out here and to share my journey and my story with you. Thank you for your time. Keep pushing forward. Trust in your journey. And remember, strength comes from resilience, not perfection. Stay focused, stay driven, and always keep learning. I'm looking forward to hearing each of your journeys and stories. Thank you.
All right.